for me about connecting to this psionics. This is a new word for me. Um, and how I got thrust into it was everybody knows has read my book or has listened to me talk over these years that I went through a lot of trouble, a lot of heartache, a lot of stress and all kinds of things, gunshots to so with that said, this all ties into the emotions thing. We know through science and through studying with Monroe Institute that it's emotional based. It's not something that you go out and you just mindlessly try to summon something of. It's like summoning a mindless creature. It's not like that. You have to have this emotional connection, and it extends through 18 years of data. It always these people that have these experiences usually have a near death or severe trauma. So there's another tie-in to emotion. And then I might ask, why would an alien care about emotion? So I've gone through these for 18 years. I'm not going to label this. A lot of people say I see it through a religious lens. I'm not religious. Um, I'm very spiritual, but I can tell you it answers for me, it answers prayer. It doesn't answer some summoning meditating technique. It just, when I say a prayer, it comes. But I think that is probably a little bit easier for me in a way because one thing I'll say about this case is I was taken in broad daylight. It wasn't through meditation or regression or a dream that all this happened to me. I walked up the hill at 10 after 5, and there were these balls of fire in the sky. The sun was just below the trees, but the sky was blue. So I was taken in the daylight, conscious in the daylight. And with that said, I could never get around, I could never be skeptical because that word skeptical, if you're seeking this and you're skeptical, you'll probably not ever find it. You got to get rid of that skepticism and just open yourself up and seek and it'll come. But it's 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 emotion based. For me, it is, and it always reacts. Now is such a strong connection that I walked out. I didn't go out last night because it was raining, but the night before, I took my little camera out and I thought, well, I'm just going to film Orion because this is how it works. I can pick a spot in the sky, the moon, for example, and say I want to film the moon, and I'm going to film these orbs flying by the moon or by Orion because I'm asking them to do that. And so night before last, I had probably 25, 30 videos of orbs appearing in the constellation or flying through. Some of them were changing directions. Some of them you could barely see them. And then they brightened up and they would answer me when I asked them questions. But I don't have to seek it anymore because I know it's real. And once you know it's real and you don't have that skepticism anymore, it becomes a relationship. So now I walk outside and I look up and they start flashing me. I haven't even thought about meditating or any of that. It's like a family now. They come and they're when I walk out, they come. Or sometimes I have to ask and they do come. And it'll be as many as 100 or more. And that's how strong it's gotten. But it wasn't always that way. It's I'm a lot like Jake in that above us is an information field where everything that's ever been said, ever been done is still there. It's like saved in the space above us. And if you're if you're paying attention, like Bertie said, you can start seeing um, seeing this psychic information, it starts coming like your wife calling, and you know it before she calls. Well, it gets a whole lot more deeper than that, in that you can start purposely looking for that information, which is remote viewing. Um, and I've been doing that a long time. It's not my favorite thing to do, but we can all do it. But without tying this thing up a whole lot more, I've kind of give you an idea of how it works for me. I don't want to say it's good, it's bad, it's alien, or it's angel. I would tell you in my thoughts, it's the latter. It's in the angelic world because it cares about us. And there may be lots of stuff out there, but my swim lane is balls of light, orbs, and the Bible is full of those. All you have to do is look. Um, So we're just rediscovering what our friends 2,000 years ago were writing about. We kind of pushed it out, but it's back in our face and it knows your thoughts. It knows what you're thinking. It knows if you're afraid. If you're afraid and you want to see it, it won't come because it don't want to harm your free will. That's my experience. I can teach anybody to do this once I show it to you. Once you see it, then it becomes this truth switch. It's what somebody at NASA explained to me. Why people that get around me, it follows them home. And the reason for that is if somebody comes to my house and they see this with me, they're like, oh my God, it's real. Well, then when they go home, it's already met them. So if you go out and you look, it's going to come. And that is the best way I can describe this word they like to say, hitchhiker. It's just being awakened. And if you're skeptical, you're only harming yourself. It's good to be skeptical, right? But if you let that dominate your thought process, especially if you come to my house and you want to see this, if you had that mentality, good luck. It's really based between you and the phenomenon. It's not about the world, it's an individual awakening, one person at the time. And this is simply can get that by going out and looking. Get rid of the skepticism, turn it to an emotion thing where you care for your friends and your family, your pets, you have a love for them, you don't want to hurt anything. I didn't used to be that way. But after having this experience, it's my whole life now. I just don't want to harm anything. So it's a change. And everybody I've ever heard that has these experiences, there's a few that have scary ones, but the rule of thumb is they always come back and say, well, it didn't eat me, and it really made me for the better. So there's not a lot of negative stuff out there. It's more a positive thing, a life changing thing. And I hope this year I can share it with at least 5,000 people personally. That's what my plans are because we're going to have a few events and do some work and be out in the desert some this year. But thank you for having me. And it's my pleasure. I'm honored to be a part. Um, and if there's any way I can do any more, I'm always here. So, but thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you very, very much. The depth of your experience, I think, speaks for itself. And I know we're pushing the time limit. Everyone will probably go beyond the 2 hours because we have several other presenters and we want a discussion. But Chris, I don't want to leave your uh, uh, presence without touching on the feminine aspects of your experience and your experience with who you call Our Lady.
Yeah.
To just take a minute or two just to describe that, because I think it's important for people to take in everyone, like with Bertie and like with Chris, the ones who've had the deep experiences, like Jake Barber.
Right.
are having these overwhelming experiences of compassion and
uh,
a feminine presence. It's
right.
interesting. So tell us a little bit about that.
What's really interesting, Jim, is I'm not Catholic, right? I was born and raised a Baptist, and so in the Protestant world, there's the lady is not prominent, right? It's not part of what I was taught all my life. So I guess I have to say I could be a good Catholic now based on having this experience. But was she the Virgin Mary? I don't know. I don't know. Uh, but I can tell you that that's the one thing that changed my life forever. And it changed the whole course of where I was heading in the phenomena. I was ready to quit. I was tired of the battling the community and the church and the family and then some of this organization I reported to, they were giving me a hard time, and so I was ready to quit. And when I was first taken 5 years before, I was like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where was it Richard Dreyfuss was making mashed potatoes on the table. My obsession was I got to tell the world. Well, the more I told it, the worse it got on me until I just said, why? And then one night, this very strong wind came, blew me over physically. And it's all in the book, but from that wind came the spirit. And believe it or not, the definition of spirit is the wind. And the definition of the Holy Spirit is the breath of God. So all this type experience being taken when I was at the bottom of my life in 2007. Then I'm ready to quit after they made me want to tell the world. Then I felt beaten down again. And then the lady comes and she says, no, this is your burden you must bear. You got to tell what you know. And if you do, I will let you film us. I'll let you share our presence with others. And when the time's right, um, in the future, we're going to reveal our presence to the world in a bigger way. And that's exactly what's happening now. Um, but this beautiful lady is, let's just say this, Jake is a friend of mine. He's a good guy. His children are beautiful. They're experiencing these orbs. He and I feel a lot the same about this thing. Without talking for him, he felt that presence too. I saw it. I didn't just feel it. I saw it, and it's still I feel it. You know, when you have her in your life, she's always there. That's that emotion thing that I was talking about, and Jake taps into. You let that emotion come in until it just makes you want to weep. And then these lights, these orbs, my hair's standing up right now. Here they come. I would bet they're over my house right now based on what I'm feeling. But it's emotions key. That's one of the keys. If we want to teach anybody how to connect, you got to you can't do it summoning. I don't like that word because it makes the phenomenon sound like some mindless creature or thing that you can control. Well, it's not like that. These things know your thoughts. You can't fool them. You can't say something, but in your mind mean something else. That won't work because they know your thoughts. And but by opening your heart up and having that empathy for, I can see a child like this week. This child, right? His mom writes me, he's 10 years old. He's dying from myocarditis. And when I see that, it overwhelms me. And I take that outside and I might hold this picture up of this child. And then the heavens tend to start coming alive and it's responding to this emotion. This
Amazing.
is one real key to it. Without labeling it, I can really tell you the patterns and how it works and show you. But everybody's got to figure it out on their own, what you're dealing with. It's just a beautiful thing to me.
Thank you so much, Chris. Just want to acknowledge everything you've been through
Yeah,
and
appreciate
everything
that.
that you've carried, brother.
Yeah,
And your keeping on under the protection of Our Lady. So
Yes.
that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate